There we go. This is Rachel. She's feeling good. She's feeling confident. She's beginning a new project today for a new client. She's interviewing lupus patients. This could be the start of a lot of work with this client. Their brand team has planned a lot of research for this new product, positioning, communications, website, the works. The first interview is always the most difficult. The clients are often nervous and we never know if the discussion guide is too long and how we may need to change it. But Rachel's got this. Wait a minute. Something doesn't seem right. This patient is a bit vague about her symptoms. And she mentioned a drug that's never used for lupus. Is that what she said on the screener? Is this really a lupus patient? Not now, not the first interview where the clients are hanging on every word and they're all paying such close attention. How was the recruiting done? Total panic mode. This is not a lupus patient. How did she get recruited? What will the clients think? They'll blame me. There goes the whole stream of lupus projects that I was counting on. What do I do now? Have you been there? Have you been in Rachel's shoes? It's someplace none of us ever want to be. It makes us all pay a bit more attention to something we may just take for granted. Respondent recruiting. My name's Wes Michael. I've been in healthcare market research for 23 years, and I've been recruiting patients for 8 years at the company I founded, Rare Patient Voice. I saw that patients were eager to share their voices, and companies were more and more interested in hearing from patients, not just physicians. But it was difficult to find patients, especially those with rare diseases. So I founded Rare Patient Voice. We now have over 100,000 patients and caregivers across 680 diseases, both rare and non-rare in the US, and have expanded to Canada and the Big Five in Europe, UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. We've completed over 6,000 projects and have paid patients over $7 million for taking part. Over that time, we've learned a few things about recruiting real respondents that I'd like to share, so you don't end up in the same position as Rachel. Most important, where do the recruits come from? If a source is a good one, chances are the respondents are authentic. Everything has a source. The Mississippi begins at Lake Itasca in Minnesota. To find our patients, we go to the source. Patient events like walks, conferences, and educational symposia. Events where the patients and families come to meet others, learn more, and raise awareness. Most are eager to sign up with us, so it's a great source. We've never found anyone we've recruited at these patient events to be a fraud. No one comes to say the lupus walks I've been to in Chicago and Baltimore to pretend to be a patient, just to do surveys. So first, ask your recruiter where they are recruiting from. I've had clients say, we love your patients, and I ask why? And the answer is because they're real. We also work with advocacy groups, but advocacy groups are all different. Some are more willing to assist than others. And don't post on their sites yourself. You could be blackballed for a long time. You need to work with their admins, gain their trust, and they will trust you. They will post for you. It can take some time. We love a group we've worked with for years. It's called We're Not Drunk, We Have MS. You can imagine them getting annoyed by the questions they were getting from strangers. They post for us from time to time, and each time we see many new multiple sclerosis signups to our panel. And when we have a particularly difficult MS recruit, such as patients who use a specific but little used drug, they help us. We reward advocacy groups for their referral efforts. We're Not Drunk has earned over $10,000 from us, which is significant to their fairly small organizations. And our patients refer other patients to our panel. I call these patients golden, as these sources never disappoint. They always provide authentic patients. We now have over 1,900 referral partners, both organizations and individuals. It pays to have friends. Some recruiters are successful recruiting patients through doctors. If you're also doing a study with physicians, you may be able to take advantage. As you recruit physicians, you can incent them to ask their appropriate patients to sign up. This is more difficult than in the past, as many physicians are a bit paranoid about HIPAA, even though they aren't revealing any patient info. They're just making the patient aware of the study, and the patient needs to contact you. Of course, you need to pay additional incentives to the physicians. Another downside is that you lose a bit of control. You can only just sit and wait for patients to contact you, after their doctor has told them about your study. So it can add weeks to the recruiting time, and it's difficult to predict how well it will work. One source to be careful of, online signups. There are click farms in obscure corners of the globe with bots signing up to take part in research. Online ads that say, take part in research for $100 can get the right respondents when posted in the right places, but they can also attract the wrong element. I used to think frauds might try that for an online survey, but who would have the chutzpah to fake their way through a qualitative interview? Turns out there are such people. And when I mention that to patients who join our panel, they get irate. I don't even want to have my disease. And there are people pretending to have it for money. What additional precautions can you take to make sure your respondents are authentic? Well, have some open-ended screening questions. These can raise red flags, better during the screening than during the interview. For example, ask them open-ended what medications they take rather than provide them with a list. If we're unsure about someone who's joining our panel, after checking the various online measures such as IP country match or browser language match, we use an old-fashioned method. We phone them. Usually you can tell quite quickly if someone is real. Within a minute, they talk about their doctor and their history and their treatments. If they're hesitant and vague, that's another red flag. As a double check, if you can phone them in the screening process, we call this a handover recruit, and get them talking about their condition and treatment, you can be assured they are for real. You might want to conduct a comfort call for the first few interviews, especially when your clients will be paying the most attention and you may be on edge. If you have any doubts about a respondent, ask your recruiter. I'm not in the habit of quoting General George S. Patton, but I think he was on target with this. When we get questions, we check them out. If there's any concern, we want to make sure the respondent is authentic. And of course, we don't want someone to cause problems for any other study. We'll flag them at the very least and expel them if necessary. We once got a call from a client who had suspicions that a hemophilia caregiver wasn't authentic. When they called her for her interview, another respondent who had already done an interview for the project answered the phone. Was she trying to double dip? They rightly asked us. We checked it out. Turns out they were a mother and daughter. We had recruited both of them as caregivers at a hemophilia patient event in Baltimore. We called both of them to ask what was going on. Turns out the mom wasn't sure how to set up her computer and webcam for the interview, and the daughter was helping her set it up. They both were hemophilia caregivers, and given the genetics, it made even more sense. Both had sons with hemophilia. But when the daughter answered the phone for her mom's interview, it was a red flag, so it deserved to be checked out. And it proved again that those we have met in person at patient events always prove to be authentic. I would never want to guarantee 100% that all fraud can be prevented. Look at what happened when they guaranteed that the Titanic was unsinkable. You don't want to be one of those passengers who took their word for it. So always be vigilant. To work with us or any recruiter, send detailed specs and share the screener if possible. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you can use our DIY tool, PAM, to plug in specs like disease, age, location, to automatically see feasibility and costs immediately, 24/7. We also publish our patient counts and costs on our website, so take a look and please ask us any questions you may have. If you do consumer interviews and groups, but haven't done patient work, and you're hesitant to do patient work, I'm here to say you can do it. If you can interview consumers about consumer products or banking, you can interview them about their health. And if you sometimes pass on patient projects because you don't think you'd be able to find the patients, don't pass until you check with us. We may be able to recruit them for you. I hope these tips have helped you become the happy, confident Rachel. Thanks, and happy to have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wes. I have a question. I know you're the president, founder of Rare Patient Voice and also non-rare. And I'm curious, since it sounds like 2013, you've been doing this. What inspires you even today for really, you are helping patients and caregivers share their voices?
It's amazing just to see patients. Now, during COVID, we haven't been able to see as many in person, right? The in-person events have been on hold, but a lot of virtual events. But just meeting, I always say every event we go to, the disease is worse than the one before. There's so many horrible conditions people or their children have. But it amazes me because I always say, wow, if I had this or my child had this, how could I go on like them? But then I remember, I'm not seeing them the day they're diagnosed. I'm seeing them, they've pulled themselves together and they're out fighting. And that's why they're at an event, or that's why they're working with an advocacy group. But it's very inspiring. The people with life-threatening diseases, with children, with all sorts of things that are just horrendous, to see them fighting it, not just sitting back. And it's very inspiring. It makes you make little problems that you run into, right? They're nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Perspective. We have a question as well. So what do you suggest one does if the shock horror, right? You do end up getting someone on an interview that doesn't qualify.
Oh my God, yeah.
Are there any gracious ways to exit, especially while clients or stakeholders are observing? Any tips for that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's certainly it's in a one-on-one, it's easier than a group, because with a group, you may want to dismiss them, but you don't want the other group to get the message that, they can't speak freely. So, we've probably all been in that situation. And I see so many patient things be one-on-one, but yeah, I think different moderators have different ways of doing it. I think a good way is to say, the information they provided me about you seems to be a little different. Let's go out to the front desk and check. That's if you're in person, right? Let's go and double. So you're getting them out of the room. You can poke your head in the back and say, let's call this one off. We'll replace it, or, that kind of a thing. I hadn't thought about handling that though. Nowadays on a Zoom call, I guess you'd have to do it the same way. You'd say, could you please hold and get some more, and then say, let me contact you offline or something, because I think some of the moderators on the line probably have a better approach, but it is a dicey situation, and it's there's so much going on, because you want to respect the person there, because maybe they've made an honest mistake, or in any event, you don't want them to be embarrassed. But you've got the clients behind you, so it's not an easy situation, that's for sure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And one last question. I curveball, but what a great background you have. Tell me about the zebra. Is that a mascot for Rare Patient Voice?
Yeah.
And how that? And then we'll head to Civicom next.
I'm glad you asked. The zebra is the symbol of rare diseases. And those people involved in rare disease may have heard this, but many people haven't. The reason it became that is, the story goes, if you're a medical student and they're training you to diagnose, they'll tell you, if you're standing and hearing hoofbeats, don't assume it's a zebra, assume it's a horse, meaning start with the most logical diagnosis. I mean, that makes perfect logical sense. But the folks in the rare disease world who've taken years to get properly diagnosed will say, but there are zebras. Too often they're just never assuming that there are zebras. So they've made zebra the symbol of the rare diseases. And we thought, people on our team said, we should have a mascot. And at first I'm like, what do I do? Dress up in a costume? But anyway, I finally got it, what they're saying. And it was natural to have it be a zebra because of the rare disease. And we had a contest online. People suggested names. All the obvious names that start with a Z are taken. Somebody's written a book about them, and we were advised, don't take that, Zelda and Zoe and Zeke. Oh, don't even go there. So we were given various good suggestions, and the name Rarity won. So it's Rarity, the zebra, and we made her female. So many patients are female. And then at some point, maybe she'll find another zebra and they'll have little zebras. I don't know.